The times in my life where I felt completely worthless was when I was just absolutely directionless. There was no sort of purpose. There was nothing to orient my attention towards. My mental health was suffering on a very bad scale. And I just was always battling with these crazy levels of confusion and not knowing who I am, what I'm meant to do. It was just this constant battle of just drifting and getting absolutely nowhere. Like you're working on things, you're working hard, and you look back a week, a month, a year later, and you realize that nothing was actually really getting done. And on top of that, like you have these goals, you have all these things you want to accomplish in your life, but at the same time, you're spending all this time, spending all this energy, and you're just getting nowhere. Why is that? From being purposeless, directionless, and just kind of confused, you really begin to question like who you are, like all these different kinds of existential questions. And it can really drain you on a lot of levels, especially to like searching for all of these different identities, different things, or different ways you want to fit into life, fit into society, and really just figure out who you are as a human. I would try doing all these different things: skills, passions, interests, identities, right? Trying to install some sort of beliefs, mental programming, different sorts of ways of seeing the world, changing my environment from working from one room to another, because they say like when you change your environment, you can also change your actions, which it does hold true, but that even wasn't working for me at least. And rather than looking outside of myself, seeing what everyone else is doing, especially too with like social media and everything going online, everything being online in the first place, you can get confused with all these different crazy things going on in the world, right? And I think there's a mental model called Hicks law, where when you're presented too many options, you just quite frankly don't know what the heck to do, right? So when you constrict the amount of options and you have less to consider, it just requires less mental bandwidth. And when that happens, it's much more easier to make a decision. But when these people are telling you how to make money online doing this thing, and then when these people are here telling you to like go start up like this cool business vehicle, when these people are telling you like, oh hey, if you buy my course, if you do this, then this is the way to get to your goal, it just becomes completely freaking overwhelming. And then there's this other side of YouTube where people are philosophizing and saying all these very interesting things and be like, oh, just go ahead and be yourself. But then when you try to do that yourself, you realize, wait, like I have to somehow monetize my lifestyle, like being able to survive. And then you're just like, oh, like damn it, like there's all these different variables. It just kind of like shoots you in the foot. And after like doing all these different things, dabbling and like kind of like being, I guess you can say like a specialized generalist versus like specializing in anything, I realized that the problem isn't outside of myself. And like with all these different business models, like different ways of approaching life, different ways of seeing the world, it's none of that. Because if it clearly works for someone and someone's like capitalizing off of it, like living a happy life, the problem is me. I'm the single common variable that is always in those positions. And the same thing applies to you. Like if you're seeing all these problems outside of yourself, it's not the things that are going on outside of you that are the problem. Because if it works for someone, it clearly means it works. So rather than blaming it or like creating this sort of like identity, this victim mindset, right? This victim mentality, and potentially blaming it or just like thinking like it's not for you. No, like it's not the thing that's the problem. The problem is you, right? And I'm not just speaking to you directly, but also like it was also for me. Like I also had to realize that it's not the problem. It's that is whatever outside of me that is the problem. It's me, right? But what always gave me hope is that there was always just this tiny thread of hope in whatever I'm doing, no matter what it is. And that thread of hope always just carried it on to something. Like even in my deepest, darkest moments, there was always this common thread of hope, right? Right. And what I want to say that even if the problem may be you, but so is the solution. Meaning, if you put yourself in the hellhole or whatever you're going through, you can also get out of it because you put yourself into it, right? How can some people have these awesome lifestyles, pursue these crazy dreams, do all these different things? Meanwhile, you are still here. I am still like maybe not exactly where I want to be, right? But what I really want to get to the bottom of your head and just like drill into it is that so is the solution. And the thing is that we may be fearful of whatever it is that we're trying to do, become, be, or really want to be without like go through all these crazy other hoops and stuff like that just to like finally do the thing one day. There's this great saying, and it goes along the lines of fear is a mile wide long. I forget who I heard this from. I heard it from someone and I completely forgot to like capture the name, whatever. But fear is a mile wide long, but then a foot deep, meaning you can imagine fear as just like spanning a large amount of space, right? Large array of space. But then when you actually step into fear, you realize, wait, this is like not bad at all. It's just a foot deep, right? Fear is a mile wide long, but a foot deep. And what that really suggests is that we tend to just overthink things when in reality, it's just like a curtain you just have to open and be like, oh, hey, it's not even that bad after all. So where does this poor mental health, victim identity, self-hate, and all of these negative problems just come from, right? It really just comes from a poorly structured life. And I get it. You may hate it, but you can also fix it. And let's get down to the most basic, I guess you can call it idea or thing you're doing on a daily basis, daily action, right? The most simplest actions you're doing on a daily basis. You are doing these, you're putting in these consistent inputs that get consistent outputs, and over a long time, right? Compounded results in your life. And basically, who you are today is a reflection of last year, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So these consistent inputs and outputs you're getting on a daily basis is producing the life you have right now. So it really just results from a poorly structured life, right? Also, to take into consideration entropy, your brain has this natural state of entropy that comprises it. And I think the thing is called, or the theory, there's a entropic brain theory. I think that's what it's called, where what the theory posits is that your brain is always in this state of entropy. And what that means is that if you do not directionalize yourself towards some goal, some sort of aim, anything like purpose, whether it's yours or someone else's, you just decay, right? And you may resonate with that on some level. I know I did, because there's been points where I just don't know what to orientate myself towards, because I have a lot of interests. I have all these different things I want to do. I have a bunch of skills, a bunch of weird talents. There's like no way really to put a name on it. Like, oh, go be a doctor. Like, there's no way you can put a name on like all of these different interests, because there's many things I can spin up out of it, design, build, or do, or learn, or like synthesize. And there's no category of, I guess you can say, job, profession that has that. So it's like, I'm the niche of just being me. And the thing is, so are you. So how do you directionalize something like that? Well, it really just starts with creating some sort of definition for what do you want your daily life to be like, right? And then setting goals and creating some sort of aims, purposes, and structure around how you want to live your daily life, and then finding things, whether on the internet or like what other people are doing, and then kind of blending it together just to create this sort of daily lifestyle you're living on a daily basis that is producing a life you can actually enjoy, right? Because if you just put in the right inputs, right, like, well, for now you have to get out of this shitty situation or whatever it is that you're in right now, but you get out of that, you put in more inputs because it's fulfilling, it's enjoying, you do more of that, you compound that with time, right, and also with effort, and at some point, it, like on a macro level, it just becomes your life. And when you order it that way, right, you become ordered, you become directionalized towards something, you feel more purposeful with your daily life, whether you are helping others or you're just doing something that you genuinely enjoy. It just becomes more fulfilling to actually live your life versus repeating the same patterns that put you into the same spot you are exactly right now. Speaking of patterns, that reminds me, patterns are one of the biggest things that can trap people. And what I mean by that is, take for instance, like something simple and measurable, spending, right? If you're not financially, I guess you can say, like mentally healthy about it, or whatever, let's say you get to like a threshold of you have 5,000 in your bank account, right? But what happens when you get to 5,000? Well, maybe you start spending more, maybe you stop caring more, maybe you start splurging on like random stuff, courses, education. Maybe you start splurging on, I don't know, like nights out, friends, weekends, bars, whatever. And then you go down to a threshold where it's like the 1,000 mark. So it starts up and then it goes down. And then once you get to the 1,000 mark, you're like, oh, wait, I have to save money now. I have to do this, X, Y, Z. And then you get back to the 5,000 mark and then you just remain stuck. So it's just like kind of like a wave. So what I mean is the same thing with like your personal life. If you notice yourself entering into careers, opportunities where it's just like, hey, it's exciting, right? You start building all these visions, these different ways of like getting there, these strategies, mapping it, and then you get to some point where it's just like you're at the peak of your like, yeah, I feel like I'm on top of everything right now. But then at some point you realize it's difficult, right? You realize that there's all these different things that you don't understand or know. And then you start falling off the peak, right? And then you're like, oh my gosh, like I can't do that right now. I can't afford it right now. Like I have these other obligations. And then you come to a threshold or like just a point where it's so painful to continue doing where you quit and then you're static, right? You're static and then you find another opportunity and you jump on that and the same exact thing happens but it just has a different name, branding, whatever style attached to it. And it's going to apply to relationships, health, right? Like you get to like maybe you lose 20 pounds, but then once you get to that mark, you raise the amount of food you're eating, and then you get to like say, I don't know, like whatever's unhealthy to you, and then it just spirals out of control, and then now you're like, oh wait, I have to lose weight now. So it's just like this constant like pattern. So by understanding these simple patterns, you can start to like measure, all right, when I get to this peak, it just means persist through it, continue going through it, and actually getting to the goal or like the vision that you want to get to. And it's just knowing like in that moment that wait, this is it. Like this is it. If anything, freaking get a paper out right now and just draw the freaking thing, right? It could just be something simple like this. This might be like a bad visual, but like these like trials, right? Peaks and trials. Like see it and then like identify it. Like, oh hey, the peak is up here, right? The peak is up here when I feel all time high, like 5,000 in my bank account, right? And then I notice myself, oh, like I could spend it now. So now I'm going to like 1,000. Like you notice yourself at $1,000. Like okay, well now you have to save now. So you just like mark it like here, like okay, just know when I get to like the 5,000 mark or whatever, just keep saving. So you get to like the next level and the next level and the next level, right? And really, it's just about optimizing the system and the patterns that are keeping you stuck in exactly where you are right now, right? And the same thing really just applies to like your life. If you just hate it, if you realize there's this massive problem in it right now, then it's really about just changing the variables and the things that you're doing on a daily basis. And all these foundations that you're building your life to develop like a healthy mental mindset, mental health, right? Like you really need to focus on just having healthy mental health if you realize there's this massive problem in your life going on right now and that you hate it. And it stems from like optimizing different life areas, right? Relationships, are you speaking with people? Are you talking to communities? Are you engaging in communities? In fact, when you have a lot of camaraderie, I think that's how you say the word, but when you're speaking to people, when you're making friends with people, when you're just engaging with other people, it's basically activating different neurotransmitters in your brain to like produce happiness, right? There's this great video on happiness that recently launched. I forget the name of it, but community is one of the biggest indicators of why people in third world countries are very happy, right? Getting your relationships in order, your health, are you sleeping right, right? Are you exercising? How about like other facets of your life? Like, are you making progress towards like some sort of professional goal, personal goal, right? Are you also achieving financial goals, things like that? So when you can build small foundations and habits in these different life facets and just focus on one, just isolate one that needs the most attention right now, build small habits, and over time you can see them compound into something beautiful and magnificent that you wouldn't even see possible, right? But it's really about just changing the variables, the inputs every single day, and then just letting time take control and just show you what are the fruits of time. And we like to think linearly, right? Whereas compound and just compound interest and effort and time, it really is exponential. So we like to think of just linearly, right? And I think it's called like the linear effect or something like that. I forget what it's called, but we also have like this bias where we think linearly. But what really is happening in the background is something beautiful that is exponential and really fast. It usually just starts off like this, very slow, very incremental, and at some point it just goes up like that. And this applies to any life area. And for me, like last year, I started just like getting more serious with, because like I've always been into personal growth and stuff like that, but there were just some aspects of my health that wasn't in order, like some addictive behaviors with nicotine and just struggling to quit with it, and like all these other freaking problems. And I just started simple with reading, I think it was OG Mandino's Greatest Salesman Alive book or something like that, where like you read these different scrolls for over like a 30-day basis. And I think there's 10. So I recently just finished it, but hey, like I just finished it, but I was able to quit nicotine. And I was also on top of that able to, most recently, I'm not saying I quit coffee, but like I've been caffeine free for like nearly a month now, and I just feel pretty great, more energized, motivated. So when you're just like fixing these simple areas, whether it's health, fixing something simple, right? Getting more sleep, working less, and focusing on things that actually matter, right? So you're actually making sort of tangible, good results. You're just fixing one life area, and when you have like one progress bar fully like juiced up all the way to like, let's say like 100%, like imagine like you are this game character and you have these different progress bars for different life areas, right? If you get like health to 100% and then some of the other ones are down, well, guess what, like since you have like all this extra health, right, this mana, whatever you want to call it, from like games and stuff like that, you can just transfer all that energy and momentum you have here into these other levels, so you can also raise them up, right? And then just improve the quality of your overall life. So if you have all this, energy here, now maybe it's more time to like develop your purpose as a man or a woman, whatever, right? Getting some momentum with your career goals. Actually, since you have all this excess energy, right? Since maybe you removed all the addictive behaviors, the alcohol, the weed, whatever, now you have a clear mindset. You can actually promote clear thinking. You can actually rationalize much more better. Since you're sleeping more, you can make better decisions. And believe it or not, when you lack sleep, you make shitty decisions. So since you have this basically over OP, right, overpowered brain, now you can make like some really awesome decisions for your professional life, your career life. Maybe you can like think more clearly and not be like mentally fatigued by all this crappy food you've been eating in the past. And now you can actually make some good decisions and make some actual real progress towards your professional goals, right, or your relationship goals, or whatever it may be. And let's say you just get disciplined in the gym. You become disciplined in the gym. Now, guess what? That same discipline, it can transfer into your work life, right? So you improve one life, but it holistically affects every other single area of your life. But the thing is, like when we try to, because like believe me, I tried and I failed many times. Like I tried in the past quitting caffeine and nicotine at the same time. Man, like I think it's just better getting hit by a bus at that point. But it's hard, right? So rather than trying to like fix all these areas at the same time, that's probably not going to work out. You're probably going to fail miserably. It's better just to isolate the most important one that can give you the most return, right? Or should I say, isolate one, focus on that big one that can give you or get you the most results, right? To impact all other areas of your life. Figure what that one is, and then just focus on that. And once you raise that up to like a certain degree or whatever you're comfortable with, focus on something else and then get that one up. And then very shortly, you'll start noticing different areas of your life just manifesting into exactly what it is that you desire and you want it to be. And what it really starts off with is just not thinking too big, because a lot of people are like with this idea for promoting big thinking, big ideas and stuff like that. But the thing is, when you think big right off the bat, like it happened for me too, because at some point I was like a very, very big thinker, and I got some results from like dropshipping, e-commerce, got a lot of results from that. And then I let that part of me, that ego, get into my professional life. And then it just kind of gave me this mindset of thinking I'm the man now. And then I tried my hand at some of these other ventures like trading, lost a shit ton of money doing that, like doing all these other things. And it basically, like all this big boy energy I transferred into something else, it just screwed me over. And I didn't have that beginner's mindset. So whether you're already at like a certain level, certain threshold, or like you're just starting out, or wherever you are in your like personal development journey, or like solving these problems in your life, you just have to start small. And then as you gain more confidence, more self-esteem, and you're fixing these different areas of your life, you can expand the opportunity space of how you see goals and what you believe is possible. Like if you're out there trying to, if you haven't achieved anything really in your life and you're out here trying to build like a space company like Elon Musk or something like that, odds are you're probably not going to do that, and you're probably going to fail pretty fast. And that's just a hard truth to swallow. And the reason why is because you're just not confident enough in your ability to execute. And the reason why is because you just don't have that self-esteem there, right? If you have a healthy, like by all means, like if you have the healthy esteem, the confidence, and you just believe you can absolutely execute it, then go do it, right? But the approach I'm trying to take here is that when you don't have that self-esteem and that confidence, and then just that mental capability to like actually grasp these big actions you have to do, then it's better off to have a small opportunity space of like business models, vehicles, skills, things you can quickly acquire and learn in a short period of time, so it can give you some confidence, right? And then once your confidence and esteem goes up, then start broadening it, making it more bigger. Like be like, hey, like I can actually manage a pretty big team now, or I can do something much more bigger, or I can like raise the bar of like how much I want to earn and stuff like that. So it's really about through time being able to expand the opportunity space of like how you see opportunity and what you think is possible from achieving from your perspective, right? And one of the biggest human needs in life, well, especially as a man, I'm not sure how women feel about this, but as a man, it follows that one of the greatest human needs is to feel useful in the world. And when you're just directionless, you have nothing going on for your life, everything's in shambles, all areas, departments of your life are just like suffering really bad, and it's all just compounding. You just feel useless, right? You feel purposeless, nothing is freaking going on. You're working at things and nothing actually is getting done or like moving you forward. You're switching between tasks, you're switching between purposes and like different identities, and nothing is just happening. And you just don't feel useful, right? And you just feel like absolute crap. So what I really want to say about that is, rather than trying to worry about all these different problems you have and all these different areas of your life that needs to get resolved, so rather than focusing all on that, just figure out how you can be useful today, and to who, right? It starts off with a problem. Who can you be useful to today, whether it's your past self, your current self, and then just help that person, or whether it's like some problem you're really passionate about, like, hey, like, there's people out here on the streets that don't have a home. How can I help them get a home? Or like solving some other problem, like, hey, there's these business owners that don't know how to monetize with marketing. Maybe I just want to help them with that because I'm pretty good with advertising. Figure out how you can just be useful with simple small steps, right? Maybe it's just by stop watching this video and then being able to donate $5 you have to spend on like a cause or charity that you believe in, right? And one powerful insight that I got was, rather than looking at the world and thinking nothing is going on for you, look inward and ask yourself, what am I withholding that the world is withholding from me? Get it? Meaning, whatever the world withholds from you, it means you withhold from the world. And I've done that myself, right? I had all of this, or I still have all this like e-commerce knowledge and like all these like business insights and basically strategies, like all these things like I'm pretty fluent in, and for like just honestly I've been withholding a lot of it, and hence why at times like I felt really useless, right? Like all these like interesting insights, like all these different books I read, like all these this cool knowledge like I have to share. And I'm not trying to say like that I feel like a victim or anything like that. No. What I'm trying to say is just what, like, based on my circumstances and where I am in life, whatever I think the world is withholding from me, for whatever that is for me, it's basically what I'm withholding from the world. If I'm not getting enough love, it means I'm not giving enough love, right? If I'm not earning the amount I want to earn, it means because I'm not helping others earn the amount that I know they're capable of, right? If maybe I'm not getting the most out of my friendships, it's maybe because I'm not being a good friend. So the same thing applies to you. If you see something that is not happening in your life that you want, it's probably because you are not giving that part of yourself to the world. So to tie it all up, if you're the problem, you're also the solution. So I hope you found this video insightful. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in another one.